Welcome to the Man's World podcast. We're going to talk today about whether husbands should share finances with their significant other, with their wives. Just a few things. If you have any questions, type them in the chat, and we're also going to post a link that if you want to ask a question privately, click on that link and just fill out the form, and we'll get the question and we'll cover those as well. So let's jump right into it. Should a man share or be open book policy with his um, wife? And I guess I'll start with just first explaining the open book policy, and then Mubarak can explain the closed book policy. So, open book policy, and there's various levels to it, but in essence, you're going to be sharing, being transparent with your finances. So your wife will know like how much money's in the bank account, what all the bills are. She can see everything that's going on. There's money coming in and money going out. Another part of that is also access to it, right? She can withdraw the money, put money in the bank account, take money out. And then the final aspect of it would be also sharing in like joint decision making as far as like what you're spending your money on, what the resources are going to. So that's like the full level. If you're an total open book policy would be that you're sharing full transparency, full access, and joint decision making, I guess, with finances. That would be the open book policy. So how would you describe the closed book policy?
Okay, so in short, closed book policy would be as far as how much the man or the husband makes, um, it's not disclosed. Like as far as your check stubs, um, tax returns, things like this are not just shared.
Hmm.
Um, also, things like how much you're paying for um, certain things. For instance, how much you may be paying in rent or mortgage on a second home. Maybe if someone has more than one wife, the how much you're paying for certain things would not be disclosed. Not that it's a secret, but it's just not information that you're going to readily share. So how
Right.
much you make, what you're spending on, when you're spending is just not information that's going to be everyone's going to have access to. Like as far as your credit card information, if you stopped at a restaurant and got a steak sandwich or whatever, that all those little bits of information are not going to be just readily available to your uh to your spouse. But the main thing is that the amount of money that you make and you're generating that you're bringing in is your business, and your information is going to stay with you,
Hmm.
and they will be on a need to know basis. And for the most part, in general, they don't really need to know how much you make.
So we're going to kind of go a little bit back and forth on this because we have we have different positions, but it's similar in a lot of aspects. We agreed on a lot of like when to apply it and how to apply it. So I guess the first question, and I guess we'll go back and forth. So I'll ask the question, then you can go first this time, and we'll just
Mm.
keep bouncing off each other and see how that goes. So
Um,
then, yep, go ahead. You got something?
yeah, so I'll just say that for some people they may see it as, wow, this is crazy. He doesn't want to share any of the information, but I see the positive aspect of it, and there's many. But in general, it removes a certain amount of second guessing that you might get.
Hmm.
Some men have issues with their wives questioning them about why they're spending on this, or why they are not spending more. Usually, your wife is always going to want you to spend a little bit more or buy things that are extra, and you really can eliminate a lot of that by she doesn't know how much money you have or how much money you make. So she
Hmm.
just makes requests. I want you to buy this. Can you buy that? And you just say yes, okay, or no, or we'll get it next week, or however. And it's a matter of she just says okay or thanks, instead of, well, you've got $10,000. Why aren't you,
Yeah.
or you make $25,000 a week. Why aren't you spending at least 20 of it, you know on me or whatever. You can
Hmm.
eliminate that, sense of, um, and it's human nature. It's human nature. Even men may be subjected to it. If you knew all the payroll that goes into, a business or your place of employment or whatever, you might be like, man, they could. And why they spending on that? Because even at my job, we like, man, listen, when we know the breakdown of where certain funds are going to, we're always questioning and second guessing and disagreeing with how they
Yep.
distribute the
Yep.
funds. It's just how it goes. Now, if you have no idea, no clue, then you just make sure that what you need and what you want, you're getting out of it, and you kind of go about your business. So I see that as a benefit.
Hmm.
I see that in general, I feel like that your wife will be more appreciative of the efforts that you're putting in when it's just a matter of you know asking, and then she gets what she wants or whatever, and there's not that extra added, well, second guessing about how you are managing the funds.
Yeah, just a little sidebar on what you just mentioned. I had a job at a managing night shift at a grocery store, and I forget how much I was making. But this is like 20 something years ago, right? But I was I was like the assistant manager, and then there was a manager above me. And we're talking, we're stocking shelves, and we're just chatting. And he was like, somehow Kim was like, "How much do you make?" And then I told him, and he was like, "What?" And I just see his face get beat red because what happens is I was making more than him, and I'm the assistant manager. He started like working there. He has like 20, 30 years in. He started off real low. They've been giving him raises, and you see is and then like the like the CFOs, COs that like run the store during the daytime when they come in the fair shift, you see him just huffing, puffing, walking straight to the manager's office, and they had to give him a raise. But that's just an example of like if you knew all where all the money went,
Mhm,
it could cause a headache. But on the flip side, sharing um sharing this information, having an open book could also reduce some kind of financial like anxiety or issues you have. And I guess when because we're saying the same thing, we're having two different strategies, and it kind of boils down to you have to know the type of person. This will be a theme throughout this. You have to know the type of person you're married to,
mhm,
really, right? Because on the flip side, if you have someone that is always like asking, "Can I
mhm,
get this? Can I get that?" and you're like, "No, yes, whatever," right? They may keep asking you those questions because they just have no idea. Like
mhm,
for instance, they might not know that there's no money in the bank account,
mhm,
right? They just so that relieves an anxiety, like, okay, and we'll have a clip we'll play later that's kind of like that, that leads to that where like the person knows, open book, so you're not going to get any questions. However, that would only work with someone that has some kind of financial literacy, that is on the same page as you as far as your goals and what you want to achieve as a family financially.
mhm.
Because like you say, you have to, if you put in two leaders, they're gonna pick different. You have $10 in your account, and where's that going to go? Is that going to go to baby formula, right? Or are we going to go to the local masjid to get baby formula and use
Yeah,
that $10 for gas to get to work, right? What are we going to
yeah,
do here? So
and-
that's an
mhm,
aspect of it. It can reduce or can cause some issues as well. So it's like a
yeah,
double-edged sword there.
yeah. And one thing that I do want us to keep in mind, is that you have to look at what is the goal of the relationship, and what are you wanting to get out of it. What
Hmm.
are you needing from the relationship? So if the relationship is more of a transactional, business kind of based, or you just a results based,
Hmm.
or oriented thing, where we're just trying to get financially stable and move, from financial stage to stage to stage, we're trying to level up. If that's, the core of the relationship, then the closed book policy is what I'm saying. It may struggle there. But
Yeah.
if the reason for the relationship, and I would say that in life in general, you want to have a sense of satisfaction, some peace, and you want to feel good and comfortable, because why does anyone start a business? They want to make money so they can, you know, live a
What they
certain
want.
lifestyle or be
Yep.
comfortable, or there's a certain intangible there that you're looking for. So
Yep.
for a lot of men, they get married and they want, as far as there's, and women too, but they want to have a healthy relationship in which they feel respected, they feel fulfilled, and they have a sense of enjoyment and pride in the relationship. So if you look at it
Mhm.
from that angle, it's not just about getting your finances from point A to point B, keep leveling up. If it's just that, it's different. But if you want the relationship to be healthy, the interpersonal interactions between husband and wife to be healthy, then you have to look at how where that can be negatively impacted.
Yep.
And what they do these peer reviews, whatever, all the time, where they look at what are the things that cause breakdowns in relationships. And I think number one is infidelity,
Mhm.
and then the other one is finances. You
Yep.
know, and in short, closed book policy can um, eliminate the the struggle, the strife, or the issues with finances. The man just takes care of things, and his finances are, it's not an issue. It's just an issue of, are your needs getting met? Great, and then you go from there.
Yeah, and I'll say another, some benefits as far as I have the open book policy is it, like you just mentioned, it improves trust, right? You can, if you want trust and accountability, it's going to improve that if you share information. That first you have to be a trustworthy person as well. Like you, it might, if you're not that type, then it's just gonna, it's gonna have the opposite effect. If you're, because there are men like that. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm gonna say unfortunately, but there are men that like everything they do for no reason is just like a secret, right? They could be going to Walmart and like, where are you going? I'm just going somewhere. I'll be back. Well, where are you going? I'll see you when dude, you're going to Walmart. Who cares? If no one cares if you're going to Walmart. And I know people that are like that. They're just totally secretive about anything they're doing, any type of move they're making, right?
Well, I would say that I would say that sometimes I can understand why a person might be like that. It depends on the type of person that you're with. But
Yeah.
this is my challenge to you, Dr. Griffin,
Hmm.
and that is because you said the open book policy, and I don't want to misquote you, but it's something to do with like uh, it promotes trust.
Hmm.
I would say that the closed book policy and not disclosing your finances is more of a show of whether or not your wife trusts you
Hmm.
than the open book policy would be. Because if she does not know how much I make, and gets details of all the spending or whatever,
Hmm.
then if she says, "Hey, I need this" or whatever, and everything's getting taken care of, then that is trust, because she doesn't have to see. Okay, well, okay, now, okay, I see that he makes $1,000 a month, so I know he doesn't have it. Instead of me just
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, I don't have it," now that's trust.
Well,
Now,
that is trust, right? But that's just a snapshot of trust. So I said it promotes trust, it increases
okay,
trust. So like if you are married to somebody that trusts you, and yeah, and she doesn't care about that, she doesn't need to know the finances and just lets you handle the business. She trusts you. But if you want to increase that trust, and trust goes both ways, trust begets trust, right?
mm,
If we're talking about one-way trust, yeah, that works. But if you want to increase trust between each other, where the husband trusts the wife because she has full access and she's not doing anything crazy with it, and he knows that she trusts her to have full access, so that it's going to keep on increasing throughout those years every time that you have that full access. Now, if she does come in and she does trust right off the bat, right? And you'll have, the only way that you can increase that trust now when she doesn't know what's going on is to just make sure that you are satisfying all her needs and wants, right? Oh, he's taking care of everything. I don't got
mhm,
to worry about anything, which that could happen. However, like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, they're always going to need and want something that might not be on the table. And every time you say no, it's most likely going to chip away at that trust. And the one time that you say no, because I want to take the kids to go get new shoes, And the minute you say no, we don't have it, and then you show up with your own new shoes, you know, because you haven't bought a new pair in like 20 years, but that don't matter, right? So, and
Yeah, I
also
mean, yeah.
one more benefit I wanted to mention too is that I'm very big on um it's kind of like the concept of like leaving the forest better than when you came in, like leave it better than way you found it. And as husbands, like one of our roles as being husbands and fathers is to prepare those that we're in charge of for the world, right? So it's
Mhm,
also an opportunity that, always ask yourself, what if I'm not here, right? So
uh-huh,
if you want your wife, kids, or whatever to live a certain way, you gotta have to train them into that lifestyle while you're actually here. So it's actually a good opportunity that, like, if you want, if you're, say, your wife isn't financially literate, right? It's a good opportunity to actually teach her how to, hey, this is how you handle the finances. Something happens to me, you'll be able to take care of yourself without, like, you know, taking your whole tax return and going buying a big flat screen TV and riding it home on your bike, and then that's it. Stuff like that. So that's
uh-huh,
another benefit
yeah.
that could possibly happen.
So if we look at it like that, so who would you say that as far as the open book policy and basically sharing everything finances upfront all the time or whatever, who does that work best for? The type of, because I know we could go down a whole rabbit hole with this, but in
Right.
general, the type of person and relationship that works best for, where the finances are open and there's no ambiguity there, I would say.
The type of person, as far as the man or the woman, or both.
um Well, well, I should say the type of relationship, because
Okay.
the man could be a certain way, and a lot of men
Right.
are similar, but the wild card may be the type of woman that you have, or the type of relationship you have with that woman, because
Hmm.
it may be a situation where the woman has a certain type of relationship with you that maybe it may be different if you were a different type of man, or a different type of personality. I don't know. I don't want to lead the witness, but
Right,
I
right.
just
So
yeah.
so I would say there's going to be a few things you're going to look for. You're going to look
Mhm,
for couples that have good communication between each
mhm,
other, right? Like couples that are, you look at them, you see them in a whatever public setting, like, okay, they're friends too, right?
mhm,
They actually like being around each other. They communicate with each other. They talk with each other. And some of you guys might listen. It's like, oh, isn't that every couple? No, it's not. There's some couples that are perfectly happy with, like, that's my husband and we do husband wife things, but we don't chill together, right?
yeah,
We
it
we
ain't really cool like that. Let me
exactly.
let me try to narrow it down a little bit. So,
Hmm.
if you have a man who is getting married or has gotten married or whatever, and he is says, I'm gonna, open the books and share my financial information or whatever with my spouse. What type of woman, from the man's perspective, would you say, okay, this is the type of woman that you can and you should,
Hmm.
open the books up to?
Yeah, I would say, for as far as the women's side goes, it's going to be a woman that is, naturally submissive, right? That knows the role, as far as like the man's in charge, he runs the household, and can handle disappointment, right? Because you have to be a very mature person that actually submits. And I'll say a traditional wife role, that is willing
Uh,
to submit to that traditional wife role, no matter what her position is in that relationship. She could be the breadwinner, she could be, making a lot of money, but as long as she's like, okay, no, I value being a traditional wife,
mhm,
that's going to be like the number one cue of, like, okay, this is somebody you can share this information with.
I see. Yeah, for my perspective, for the closed book policy, as far as the person that it will work for, also is you di- well, I wouldn't even say that it has to be a submissive type wife. I even think if a wife is not very submissive, then you even more so need to protect your finances for
Right.
things that could be down the road. But for the man, in order for a man to be able to say, my earnings and my salary or whatever is my business. You know what I mean? My job is to provide for whatever you need. to the capacity that I have, is number one, he has to be doing that. He has to
Yep.
literally
Yep.
be a person who
Absolutely.
is going to, spend whatever resources that he does have to his ability to take care of the things that she needs,
Hmm.
and that the family needs. That's number one. But he has to be someone who can actually stand on, what he's saying, and be able to follow through if there's any sort of pushback or disagreements about, well, why don't you share this and why don't I know this? If you get those questions, you have to be able to stand in that discomfort a little bit until it becomes very clear that this is just the way it's going to operate.
Yeah.
If you are a person who constantly gets questioned about how much money you have, how you're spending decisions, and all these things, then to me, I don't want to say it's not possible, but it becomes difficult. It becomes annoying to try to run this type of program. It
Yeah.
works best with a woman who trusts you and who sees you as an authority, who sees you as someone who does take care of their business properly. So if you're a person who in the past or in the beginning of a relationship, uh, you know, makes poor decisions with money, finances, then it may be a thing where you can implement it, but you got to understand why you're getting some pushback. So
Yeah.
it works best with a relationship where it's healthy, the pecking order is clear, and you're taking care of business. That's what I say.
Yeah. And I would just to add on to that is for the men to have like if you're a person that is not financially, I guess you could say, competent, you better have an open. If your wife's the one that like knows like how to take care of the finances and she could like, then you better have an open policy because you're just gonna either run into a divorce or run into like more heckling of what are you
Mhm.
doing? Why are you, you're gonna have those questions. So
Yeah.
like you said, the first step would be, and all men should have this, and fathers should teach their sons is some financial literacy, right? What bills need to be paid first, how to manage your money, how to save, and these sort of things, the reasoning behind it, so that when you do get those questions, whether you take the open book policy or the closed book policy, that you can actually give competent answers for the decisions that you're making.
Mhm.
And I'll add on as well the person that, because we're kind of segueing into this, the person who will not work for, and I'll talk about the person neither style is going to work for, and it should be a red flag, like, okay, it's time to get out of here, is that whether you did close book or open book, they're going to question every single thing that you do no matter what. If you're married to that type of person or considering marrying that type of person, don't, right? Get out of there because you're asking for a headache no matter what you do, and that's not the type of life you want to live for the rest, decades.
Yeah, yeah. The as far as closed book policy, like having a closed book, like I'm saying, is absolutely will not work for a man who is, like I say, if he's bad with finance, or if he does not, he just does not uh spend on his family. For instance, yeah, he may be working, he may have money, but I've seen this where a man will have money, but he will just like make his wife, buy her own stuff. Because either she has some money or she gets money from her parents or she's got some savings or makes her spend her amount,
Hmm.
her dowry or whatever. But it will not work for that person at all. You cannot, you know, because it's a position of authority. It's like a management position. It is like being a CEO in a company,
Yep.
to where, but if you're not that type of person, it won't work for you. You will not be able to do it if you're just a person who, if the man is like, you're not even working. You know what I
Yep.
mean? If you, the 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 breadwinner of the family is not you, then it won't work for you.
Yep.
And I would also say that in rare circumstances, but it will not work for a person who really either needs or wants his wife to participate um, in the financial, well-being of the family. If he wants her to work and pitch into paying the bills, or to take the family from a financial point here, from point A to point B or something, I don't. It wouldn't be to me. And I don't think it will work very well. Depending on the type of wife you have, it may
Hmm.
be, but for the most part, it would be unreasonable, I think, to ask your wife to pitch in, with paying bills and to buying houses or whatever it might be to get the family to another financial level, and you're like,
Hmm.
but I ain't telling you nothing. It's like
Yeah.
it's not gonna work. That's asking for trouble.
Yeah. And I will say, so as far as the open book policy goes, I would say for men, one, there's a few things that you have to consider with going with this strategy. We talked about you have to consider the type of person you're married to. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you are married to like the perfect person to open finances up to. But you know in your mind in the future that you are going to potentially want a second wife. You should stay in the closed book policy. Or not, let me add the other part on there. And you know your wife is against polygamy. She doesn't want you to get married again. That's the key there. Everything can be perfect. She's a good communicator. She trusts you. She doesn't question you about what you do. Lets you take the ball and knows you're the leader and all that. However, when you brought up polygamy before, she's like, absolutely not. I can't do it. We ain't doing it, right? And you know that like eventually I'm going to want to do this. You're going to want to have a closed book policy,
Mhm.
because when she sees that bank balance increasing, and then she knows that you are someone that's going to be potentially looking for a future wife, guess what? She's going to find all types of stuff where that money could go to. you
Yeah.
know so definitely, keep that, on your side, and keep it closed, just so you could manage what your life goals are without
Mhm.
having that, interference um
Yeah.
jump in, you know
And I would say that, as far as the closed book policy and keeping finances as far as how much you make and all that, keeping that private. The weakness I would say is that, and you kind of pointed out it earlier, is that you may get in a situation where if you're not around or if you get sick, maybe you're in the hospital or whatever, as far
hmm
as paying the bills and taking care of certain things and making sure financially things keep running like you were doing, may take a hit.
yep.
um and so it's almost, it does put you in a situation where you you have to be solvent, and you have to be coherent, you have to be there, you have to be able to carry out your duties, otherwise it may fall through. There's also the situation where if you, and I just had the thought and it just
hmm
left my mind real quick, but I would say that's one of the main weaknesses that I see, is that you really, you can't really take a break
yeah.
as far as managing those finances. And so it
hmm
does get, that's what I was going to say, it gets annoying sometimes, paying this little bill here and the water bill, how much is it, these little tedious little accounting things. I mean, some people might like to do that. I actually hate to do it, but I've realized that the headache for me having to pay little bills here and there, and sometimes I forget about the bills. One time, one time, me and one time, me and my wife was in the garage working out or whatever, and all of a sudden the lights went off. I was like, man, they must be. I was like, yo, they must be working
yeah.
on the electric somewhere. And then she was like, "Did you pay the bill?" And I'm like, come, come to find out, man, I hadn't paid the electric bill in like 2 months. I forgot about it. They
Yeah,
cut that joint off. So I mean,
yeah.
so that's one thing that I would say. That's a negative. You really can't forget, and and so one thing that women are very good at, reminding you of things that you shouldn't be doing. And
hmm
so I would say that that's one positive that the open book policy has over a closed book, is that they always going to remind you about things like that,
yeah.
where you won't have your lights cut off in the middle of a workout.
You got a built-in assistant policy with
Yeah,
the open book policy.
yeah, absolutely.
Did you pay
But
that yet?
but with that said, like, as far as the negatives of the open book policy,
hmm
to me, and I see it as two things. Number one, if you want to, as you said, if you want to get another wife, or even if you have another wife, if you have two wives, I don't think two or more. I don't think that you can. You got to be really the man, and those got to be some good women for you to have an open book policy to where all of your financials, all of your swipes, all of your credit card statements, your bank statements, money going in, going out, how much you paying over here, over there is open, and everybody knows. I feel like that it is almost impossible for a
Mhm.
man to be able to do that without major headaches, unless he really is just in such a um a dominant position, in a position of authority, and they respect him so much. And as much as we like to think, oh yeah, I'm the man in my house, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I mean, even the best of women are going to give you a little when they see all. It's like, oh, I see you stopped at the Safari restaurant, and with the aquarium inside, whatever. And it might be a situation where you just running late. You just had to, you had to get something, but it's like they ain't gonna forget that. Every time you pass by the Safari restaurant, they're gonna be like, hey, are you gonna take me there? And it's like,
You went to the Safari restaurant and you came home and took a shower?
yeah,
What's going on here?
yeah, yeah. Even if the water bill, wow, the water bill over there is twice as much over here. What's going on?
Yeah.
Ain't gonna win. So
Yep.
I'm saying that to me, that's one of the negatives if you really have more than one household that you're trying to run.
Yeah.
And the other negative is, as we did the whole extraction series. I mean, to extract yourself, or even if you need to even try to, is a mission in
Mhm.
and of itself. Like if you
Mhm.
have all of your finances open, everything is entangled or whatever, and she knows everything. If you were thinking to yourself, hey, you know what? This relationship is really not working out, and I need to extract myself.
Yep.
I mean, you're gonna have to really, really, really work very hard, and you probably will not be able to mitigate the financial damage that will come from getting divorced, especially in the West. If you got a and if you got a Western-minded woman who might be bitter, and it's like, well, if we're going to go, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory. Basically, I'm taking half of everything,
Mhm.
and so that's the other negative. If you got more than one family, or if you need to extract yourself from the situation, it'll be very, very hard to do.
Yeah, and I would say those are definitely big negatives. And just like we mentioned that you have to look at the type of woman that you're married to or women that you're married to that you want to do this with. You have to look at yourself and what type of person you are, right? So for the open book policy, if you're not someone who's can make decisions and stand behind those decisions and be able to handle easily scrutiny and you go about your day without being too stressed, then that could be the policy for you. Because even in a polygamy situation, where a wife might be questioning where you spend here, where you spent there, if you're that type of person that stuff doesn't bother you and they know that the stuff doesn't bother you, then it's not going to bother you. It's not going to be that big of a deal, right? But definitely the extraction thing is a big deal, is a big negative. Um, and you have to account for that before you decide to start getting into that. And again, you have to be a certain type of person. But as far like so when we're talking about like the negatives for like the closed policy, right? And I'm just really just thinking about, and you mentioned in the very beginning, it's just like what type of relationship do you have with the woman that you're married to, and by not having some kind of form of openness and transparency, it kind of sends a message of like, I don't trust you, one, or I don't think you're qualified enough, smart enough, or whatever. There's going to be some kind of negative interpretation that could likely happen with your spouse if you maintain um, a closed policy, closed book policy. So that's like the biggest negative I see, and I would say like kind of like spoiler, but some kind of mixed methodology approach is usually the best, right? Where you can find somewhere in the middle where you're actually being transparent on certain things. And I'll just give an example. You start with the closed book, and I'll admit this, unless you're a certain type of person, right? And you're most likely not that type of person, you should start with a closed book policy. You first get married, someone you don't know, and like you're just starting a relationship, start with a closed book policy. And then you basically take little steps towards if seeing if you can go to the open book policy. And then, maybe down the line you realize, yeah, we're a perfect match. We're going to be together forever and everything works out. You got totally open book policy, but start off closed, right? But an example of like some kind of mixed methodology would be like you have a closed book policy. However, anytime your wife asks you about something, you tell her how much money's in the bank account. $1,000. Oh, what's it for? Oh yeah, I gotta save this amount to pay this bill. Like that's the you just whenever she asks, you let her know. That's transparency. She just can't go look it up herself, right? Or
Mm.
another example is she just has access. She doesn't know how much is in there, but she has a card that, hey, oh, I want to buy this. Okay, yeah, go ahead, go use your card.
Yeah.
These are different forms of like openness that you can take without just give them the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, and so that I don't think I mentioned it in the beginning, but definitely having access to spending and to be able to spend, I feel like is a key component of having a closed book policy is that they do have access to money. They can get what they need,
Hmm.
and they have ability to spend. But this is what I would say because I think you mentioned it like
Excuse me.
possibly negative of them asking and wanting to know. Like I would say, why are you asking? Why do you need to know how much money's in the bank account? It's not just the when you ask, well, how much money do you have? There's a reason for it. Are you just curious? Don't be. But I would say this. It's like this, and that's why I mentioned earlier, as far as the type of relationship that you want, the feeling that that feeling of peace and you know, uh, togetherness, closeness, or however you want to call it. Do you want a functional, a happy relationship? And a lot of relationships between men and women in general is where the man feels respected, he feels like he's in authority. The woman feels like she is married to someone that she can trust and that she respects. When it's like that, it works the best. And a lot of people are most comfortable in relationships like that, where the wife looks up to her husband as someone that is a leader, and the husband feels good when he feels like he's respected and trusted, and he's leading things, and you know, um, the wife has that certain sees him in that certain
Hmm.
light. So let me ask you a question right now.
Hmm.
If I gave you if I said, hey, you know what, just one day you got $100 gift card for whatever your favorite restaurant. It's like, hey, take you and your wife go out to eat or whatever. You'd be like,
Yep.
"Man, that's my guy, man. Appreciate it."
Hmm.
Now, if you would be like, I appreciate that, and it's cool. You might be like, it's not gonna really make or break anything, but you would
Right.
have a good thought about me.
Right.
Now, if I had Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk type of money, if I had $100 billion, you'd be like, this nigga,
This
this
cheap
just
nigga.
cheap. Can you believe this? You'd be like, yo, can you believe he gave us $100 gift card? Man,
Yep.
you might throw it in the trash. You might be like, you're gonna the feeling about me is gonna be negative, even though I did something
That's
positive.
true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
So in that way, and sometimes if a wife, we're human beings, right? And so if us as men are going to have a certain thought, and we have to be real about ourselves. If I knew you had $100 billion and you never gave me any money, I don't know if we would be friends.
I got that Wahhabi check just sitting there.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's like if you know all the details about the finances, then your perspective of how much should be spent here, there, or on you directly is going to skew how you feel about what you
Yep.
got.
Yep.
And so to keep that relationship pure and without shaitan and that these human emotions getting involved, you could eliminate that by saying, hey, $100 gift card. You'd be like, yeah, hey, hey, baby, dinner's on me tonight. Let's
Yep.
go out.
Yep.
We're gonna live it up, man. We getting supersized everything. You know what I mean?
I w- I would say to that that's a very good point that you brought up, and it basically reminded me of, if you're gonna do open book, right? There's You can't combine being open book with certain things also being secretive, right?
Mhm,
So, like I said, you can have a mixed methodology, but it should be coming from the closeness going towards openness. Like, for instance, you can't give full access to see everything that's going on, but then like you don't share your plans for what you got for the money. You're
mhm,
secretive about that. So if I'm saving millions of dollars in a bank account because I know I want to buy an apartment structure down in somewhere that's going to be a big investment for, but I'm not sharing that with my wife, but she just knows this dude really got $1 million in the account and he's telling me no, I can't get a new pair of boots, or you know what I mean? You have to share that part as well. So there's certain things that have to go together. Um,
mhm,
Also with that, I would say that when you're doing the open book policy, right? You have to really make sure that you, like, I'm going to keep repeating, you have to really make sure that you assess who you are and the type of person that you're with. And that's going to change throughout your marriage, right? So there's, as a leader, right? And you could take this as, being a leader, whether it's in business and at work or whatever, you get the best type of cooperation or the best structure when you can get the people that's supposed to follow you to do it voluntarily,
mhm,
right? Even though they're mandated to, right? You go to work, you have a boss, and like you have to listen to your boss. Otherwise, I'm not getting a check. I have to listen to them, right? But if you can get their mind to switch that, no, I like the way they lead. I like the way that they're taking this direction, and they get buy-in into what your plan is, your leadership style, then you could share everything and they'll actually help and participate in that. Well, Bart mentioned in the very beginning, like if you wanted to, your wife to pitch in, work, chip in money to whatever your financial goal, you have to get that voluntary following from that person. So when you are assessing whether you should go to, transition to an open book policy, you first have to make sure that your wife is on the same page with you as far as how you deal with finances, how you deal with just regular decision making, how you want to live your life. And then when they do run into the, oh, he's got $1 million in a bank account, but I know he's probably saving that because I know he wants to invest in some kind of business or build a giant house, whatever it is. They already know that before they even get access. So that eliminates the questions. That eliminates the suspicion and all these different things that going on because they already understand and they buy in. They can complete your sentence. Like they already know the answer to the question before
mhm.
they even ask it.
Yeah, and so that's I would say that's one of the benefits of the closed book policy is that it's much easier. I feel like to convert to an open book policy.
Yeah.
You can do it in stages. You can do it partially. You can kind of have the ability to, you know. Do it in a way that's not going to completely expose you if you don't need to. But I would say that once you get to a certain point in a relationship, and lots of people, they get started in a relationship and they think, oh, after 36 hours, they're like, this is gonna be great, we're gonna be together forever. Bump the brakes, you gotta you gotta relax. But once you get, there's a certain point in a relationship where you're like, I mean, the only thing that is going to, illa mashallah, but that
Hmm.
is going to break this relationship apart is one of us is gonna die. Otherwise, we're just I don't want to say stuck together, but you really don't want to even think of a world where you're not
Yeah.
together. And it's not like this love infatuation. It's just you fit together, you work together, you're in sync, you click and everything. And so when you have a relationship like that where you're like, man, this is ideal, this is perfect for me, then to me, as far as on the closed book side, you can really open the books up to everything, and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if you how many wives you had or whatever with that
Hmm.
person that you click like that with. You can't do it. But I would say that when you get to that point, then your wife, who you are in that type of relationship with, won't even care. They won't even
Yep.
care. They won't even, and it does depend on some personalities, but I can. I can tell you so many times that, and people think this is like, there's no way, but seriously, my wife has not asked me how much money I make or how much money I have ever. Like,
Hmm.
she's never asked me the question.
Yeah.
Nowadays, maybe she's listening. She doesn't even listen to me. She doesn't listen to the show anyway.
You can say whatever.
I can say whatever. She's not gonna watch.
I asked my wife, "Do you watch my show?" No.
Yeah, no, she don't even
All
know.
right.
She be like, I don't know what y'all talking about anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is, if she asks me now, I probably would tell her. I don't know. Maybe if she's listening now, I'm not going to tell you, so don't ask. But the point is, I think it would be easy. It wouldn't be no issue because of the type of point that we got to in the
Yeah.
relationship. But it's not for everybody. But I would say that you can. It's easy to convert when you get to that point. But when you get to that point, it
Doesn't
might
even
not
matter.
even be. It won't
Yeah.
won't even matter.
Yeah.
But so my question for you, and I think this is more pertinent on your side as far as
Yep.
the open book methodology is, how can you, if you need to convert from having an open book to a closed book, is it even possible to do without completely blowing the thing up? Like you,
Man, it's like you know how a cheese grater is, right? It's basically like trying to go through a cheese grater. That's what you're trying to do. Like going down's nice and smooth, maybe a little bumpy. Try to go back up that cheese grater. You're getting cut. You're getting scraped. You're getting little pieces falling off. That's what's going to happen to you. And that's probably the biggest risk of like just getting into the open. Like I said, you have to be a certain type of person, and you know a certain type of person, and know the risks that come with it, because no matter how good your relationship is, you could hit that point like you mentioned where like, yeah, we're together forever. This is it. Good or bad or ugly. I know we're gonna ride this out. I know the person, she knows me. Okay, boom, turn on the open book policy, full access, full transparency, and all that. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow, where it's like, yeah, this is, you know what, I thought we were gonna die together. Like, I can't stand, she can't stand me, I can't stand her. And then trying to backtrack out of that, where you're like maybe trying to close certain accounts, reduce access. you're sure, you're surefire are going to be like, all right, yeah, our relationship is over. So you might end your relationship by trying to take some of those actions to go from open book to closed book. So I would say, like, unless you're at the point of it's extraction time, don't take any steps to like, oh, I think I need to reduce access and transparency, because that's just gonna, expedite y'all marriage demise. Because even if she didn't care that she couldn't go online and go look at what's in a bank account, and y'all going through problems, and that first time she tries to go on the account and click on like, hey, what's the balance, and like access denied, well, guess what's gonna go happen? A lot of negative things is gonna happen after that.
So first things first, I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've done that before. I've tried
Mhm.
that before, and I mean, it's rough. I mean, like, I'm talking about from having an open book where
Mhm.
everything is like, access to the bank account and seeing everything and transferring money back and forth or whenever all that,
Yep.
and to shut all that off. I mean, I'm talking about, it's like Armageddon. And I did it in a way where I just got annoyed one day with just being asked about why I was doing anything with
Yeah.
any. I find it, even though I already, like, it wasn't a thing where it's even secretive. It's just like questioning decisions as far as how you go about the finances.
Yep.
And so I just said, you know what? To me, it's not healthy for me in the relationship to have this negative, energy, because I don't like the way that I'm being, questioned or whatever.
Yeah.
So I shut everything up. Yeah, I shut everything down. And when I tell you that, when I tell you that it caused an uproar and the ripple effects never actually recovered,
Mm.
and so looking back, I probably could have done some things a little bit differently. But I would say that it definitely was a contributing factor to where you
Yeah.
start out one way, you yank it away, and there was no soft landing. It's just basically just sweep,
Yeah.
sweep the legs from under them, and just you fall wherever you fall, you fall.
Mhm.
So I would say that um, you definitely have to be ready for a complete disaster to go on. But I
Yeah.
just said, I have this question for you. Now,
Yep.
if a person, if you do have a young man who comes to you and says, "Hey, listen, um, I do have a situation where, for instance, like if a man has more than one wife, he has open book policy, and
Right.
when the wife sees that, hey, $77 was spent at Target, she knows otherwise spent $77, but she tries to spend, tries to get a $33, whatever from Walmart, it's an issue. And so she's counting doing this, that, and another. And you realize, okay, I'm having it. So now she's calling the other wife and and
Hmm.
has questions like that. So what would you tell as far as a man who has that, maybe a situation similar to that? He's coming, he's like, okay, how do I successfully, close the books without, a complete
Yeah.
disaster going on? What
So
do
if
you
I
think
put
you would
myself in that situation, and the first thing is to communicate to both wives, right? Maybe you have a meeting, bring them both together, and you tell them exactly why you're doing what you're doing. And it's like, because I don't want to deal with this headache anymore, and because you guys are questioning my spending, whether it's one wife or two wives, you try to basically make it inclusive, but you don't want to blame the wife that's not doing it for the actions of the first wife. But you have to communicate. That's the first thing. You have to communicate why you're doing it. So it's not like as a vengeful type of thing because they're always doing it to get back at me, or I know she has access and I don't know. Take access away from all the wives, right? That's the first thing. Communicate why you're doing that to them, and then just do that, and then stand firm on it, and then don't go back, because pretty much like your goal for doing that is not just for your peace of mind, but for your marriage, right? And you have to let them know that you're gonna get a bunch of crap. There are gonna be objections. There's gonna be accusations and all that. There's gonna be a little storm. Deal with the storm, but then after it's all set in place, they at the end of the day they know why you did it, and that it's done. And you mentioned this a lot in our previous show. It's like you can't half step. You can't, okay, they go for a month or two without asking me about anything, and then like, oh, can you give me access back to the account? Because that will happen. There'll be a bunch of situations that pop up like it would just be easier if you just give me access to the account. No, do not go back. Leave it at that, because I know we got to wrap up soon. We probably have to do a second segment to cover some other things, but even though I am an advocate for open, or I wouldn't say an advocate, I would say me personally in my personal marriages, right, always was just open book, like 100% open book. You have access, you have knowledge, we make decisions together, all that. Going back, right, I wouldn't do that. Knowing what I know now, and I wouldn't advertise for people to start off doing that, right? When you want to go to open book is when it's going to take your great relationship to an even greater relationship. That's when you want to make those steps to going to open book. Now, you may have to take some smaller steps in between to kind of get a balanced relationship, to get some goals that you want in your relationship, like being transparent. That's one thing. But the real, you don't want to, I say keys to the kingdom, right? We call this in auditing keys to the kingdom, when someone has access to do whatever they want, whenever they want in the kingdom. They have the keys to the kingdom. You don't want to give the keys to the kingdom until you're in a position where you're like, okay, like this is the person that I'm with. Like Mubarak said, you hit that level. Like this is the person that we're gonna live, die together. And when I do that, it's actually gonna take us to another level. But odds are, if you're at that level, it's a real diminishing return, because you're not going to improve that much. You're like going from a 9.5 relationship to a 9.55 relationship. Like it's not going to change that much.
yeah. Yeah, and so I would just say in my final statement is that um, the closed book policy, closed book methodology is definitely the way to go for starting out for sure. But if you can maintain it, if you got to pick one, it's definitely closed book methodology. It's going to give you the flexibility to do what you feel like is best without some of the emotions getting involved. If you need to get another wife, you'll have the ability to do that. Um, it's not always the case that you would need to. That's another show, but it's
Hmm.
going to give you more of an ability. And if you need to extract for whatever reason, You just
Yeah. You
you
take
just
your millions
detach,
of dollars and just
like,
bounce.
like you know how you have the motorcycle, you have like the little sidecar. Basically, you
Yeah.
just detach
Detach.
the sidecar. Let it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
go.
And I was just thinking real quick, it's like when you're married to somebody that's, I guess, constantly question you about like where the money is, where's it going, how's it going. I don't see from an open book policy standpoint that actually changing anything. That person is naturally just going to keep questioning everything you do and how you spend the money and all that. So like it doesn't change anything. Those just like why would you do that?
Mhm.
And so like well, we already went through all that. You guys can watch the video. Went through the pros and the cons. And I used to be a big pro advocate. I mean, I am very pro share everything, but that's because I'm for me. That works for me, and I know the risks. I'm willing to accept those risks for the little benefits I get. And but you have to know what the risks and benefits are and see is this worth it for me? Most times it's not because especially starting off in life and marriage, it's not. So, Mubarak has successfully swayed me to the closed book closed book methodology, especially for our new brothers that are getting into new relationships. You got to start off closed book. Put that foot down. Put the padlock on the book. So,
Yeah, that-
with that, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna see you guys next week, inshallah, on Sunday. Do we have a topic for next week, or are we gonna post that later?
we'll post it later. I think, yeah, I'm not sure yet, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll post it.
Okay. Again, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. We got the link to our anonymous form. If you have any questions you guys want us to answer on the next show, so go ahead and hit that link and type in your questions. Totally anonymous, so you don't know who you are, so you can ask whatever you want. And if you have any other concerns, you can email us at emailaman'sworld@gmail.com. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, sorry.
Ooh, where's the end stream?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get to these clips today, but
Oh yeah,
I'll
well,
try
no
to,
worries.
man. If I can try to get them done at work, but it's always